Well, I think the first correction should have been don't actually work for IBM. Accenture, so kind of the same thing. That's okay, Barbara. So we wanted to talk today about the Ally program that we introduced at Accenture in March of this year. Our introductions are in the program, so we won't go into who we are and what we do. Elspeth is the lead of the UK LGBT network, and I'm the program lead of the Ally program, and that's why we are actually speaking on behalf of Accenture today.
Can I just chip in as well and say that we didn't coordinate this dress double act, so
yeah.
It's not kind of an Accenture uniform or anything like that.
Yeah, we don't have a chip. Oh, we do, well, yeah, kinda. So we wanted to get started by actually showing a video that we made to launch the program. Some of you may have already seen it, and it, I think, sets the tone for what we have done this year and how far Accenture has come in the last probably 7 years since we've had networks globally. So if you could roll the video, please, and then we'll give you a little bit of context. Let's see if it works.
I don't have to do anything with this, do I?
I'm a straight ally.
I'm a straight ally.
I'm a straight ally.
I'm a straight ally.
Everybody deserves an ally, and I actually became an ally because Tom asked me to be an ally, and that's probably the most important thing to me.
It was, funnily enough, Sarah who invited me to become a straight ally.
I was actually contacted by a new recruit a few weeks back. He'd spotted my name on the site and wanted to know my view on whether it was being out in the workplace was something that was as comfortable as he'd been told he would find.
I am a straight ally because of Tom.
I thought it was a great initiative, something that I think is really great to be involved in.
It's fantastic to have people like Sandra as straight allies.
I think it's crucial that Martin is part of the Straight Allies program at Accenture. It's very easy for us to identify senior people to lead up the programs, but we need people who care about the program in all levels of the organisation.
If you go into a new office or a new client, is it going to be okay the first time you say boyfriend instead of girlfriend?
My partner Jeff and I, for the first time, it's a little bit nerve-wracking.
There's sometimes almost a double take moment, and that's the worrying part of coming out on a project.
If I had to edit what I said about what I did at the weekend or who's important in my life, I would feel unincluded.
We want to have an organisation where people can be themselves.
I'd never considered before the impact, what it's like having to come out repeatedly. In the world of Accenture, we move from client to client, project to project, and it really struck me just how challenging, how difficult, how emotional it can be for some people.
With Amy, with someone that's that caring, you know that you've got a friend.
Well, Mark talks naturally and easily enough about LGBT issues.
A colleague that I really respected and looked up to, who was you know, my manager and then one of the partners that I worked for. He was a gay man. We all knew he was a gay man. We never talked about it. And, you know, and Todd died. Leaving Accenture, never having said that out loud. That was my real sad moment, right? Was not getting the chance to really know him fully.
When I took my 3 charity days, which you get at Accenture, I went to work with Cambridgeshire Police. A friend of mine works there in an outreach role, working with the victims of hate crime. To see the damage that just words can do really changed, you know, my perception of that community.
I joined 6.25 years ago with Accenture, and it took me 2 years to come out to colleagues. And actually, when I came out to my colleagues, it was about the same time I came out to my family, and actually it was slightly easier in a way. They took it brilliantly, and I've never looked back.
I think if I flash back a few years to when I first joined Accenture, I didn't have an Amy in my life. Someone that I respect, someone that's a very influential leader, someone that understood what my true potential could be, and someone that I trusted.
Before I worked at Accenture, I worked at another firm which had quite a blokey atmosphere. I couldn't really be myself. I couldn't talk about being LGBT. I found myself censoring the genders I talked about. And when you come in on a Monday morning and you feel afraid to talk about what you did at the weekend, that's not really a great working atmosphere.
I think it's important that people can be themselves at work, because if you censor yourself, you're not bringing all of yourself to the table. I can't imagine what it must be like not to be able to be 100% me. Accenture's not getting their all if people are not being able to bring themselves to the table.
I want them to feel comfortable that they can come into the workforce and be truly who they are.
If you also, kind of get involved in the network a bit, you get to understand some of the good activities that go on and some of the opportunities that presents, whether you feel like you are included in that network or whether you're an ally and a friend.
I would love all of my colleagues to become straight allies.
I would definitely recommend for other people to be straight allies. It's something that I believe in. I believe in equality, and I believe that everybody deserves the right to feel comfortable on the workplace.
I think it's important to demonstrate that this is a really normal part of working at Accenture.
It's so easy to join, and it's something I feel so strongly about, that equal rights in the workplace, that it was just an instant decision for me.
It's really about individuals and recognising that each individual in this company needs to feel included, needs to feel valued, and some forms of difference can't be seen but do need to be heard.
I'm a straight ally.
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 Wonderful, thank you. And we have a clicker, right?
I'll let you
I'll have a go at doing it. All right. So that gives you some idea of what we did to launch the program in 2012, early this year. But what I thought we'd do first is have a couple of minutes talking about how we actually got to that place. From an Accenture standpoint, we've had a network in the UK and the US probably for about 7 years now, and a little less time in other countries. We now have over 25 networks across the globe, which is really exciting. In the UK, the journey's been one very similar to other companies. So start off as a purely social network, having a few drinks and meeting other people within the community and the company. And then we moved into sponsoring events and becoming part of the larger diversity agenda at Accenture. We then moved into actually sponsoring very big events in London, such as the London Gay and Lesbian Film Festival, which is fantastic. But we realized about middle of last year that we had this engagement curve going like this when it came to the LGBT population, but suddenly we started seeing a drop-off, or at least a plateau. Fewer people were signing up to the network, and there wasn't quite the vim and vigor that there was before in the network itself. So I thought, right, what's next? And more importantly, how do we engage the wider community in understanding the challenges and being able to educate others on Accenture's policies around diversity and LGBT? At the same time, Stonewall and Goldman Sachs, who were leaders in the Ally program, had launched an Allies program in the UK, and we thought, great, we'll do the same thing, copy it. And that's what brought us to the point of us actually developing our program as well. If we move on. So we're thinking, great, we need an Allies program. We need it to educate everyone outside of the LGBT population on challenges that we face in the workplace and really why we're here. And so we sat down with a bunch of LGBT leaders in the UK and other parts of the globe and came up with a mission and vision. Because we're Accenture management consultants, we must have a mission, we must have a vision, we must have a program plan and a process. So I won't read it, you can read it for yourself, but the important part of this was having group agreement as to what we were trying to do And also a plan to ensure that we didn't just say, right, blah, here's an Allies program. We actually said, let's think about how we actually build up to launching it to make sure it has the biggest impact and people know when they sign up what they're signing up to. And on that note, I will hand over to Elspeth, who can tell you about what we did and how we got there.
Sure. So we had the initial brainstorming, and then we realised very early on that one of the things that we needed to do was identify the right people to kind of put the message about. And we're very I'm sure most organisations are like this. If your sort of senior leader in your area of the business who looks after your career says something that that they want you to listen to, then obviously you're going to listen to it. So we realised that we needed some quite senior stakeholders to sort of be our champions and our figureheads. So we identified a lot of them you've seen in the video. Basically, the whole of the UK board, right? Yeah. They're kind of all of the different people that own all the different areas of our business are our figureheads and our champions. We got them into a room and said, what do you think of the idea? And it was, probably one of the really heartening things about it is what an easy sell that was. There was no kind of, I don't really get it. Why would we want to do this? It was just pushing on an open door and people went, this is fantastic. I'd love to be involved in it. What do you want me to do? So we thought, great, we've got them bought in. But this big question, what did we want our allies to do, was a really interesting one. And all of the energy and enthusiasm, that was the thing that people kept coming back to, saying, great, I'm in, what do I need to do? So again, being consultants, we built some assets. And I think to do this, it takes quite a lot of time, quite a lot of energy. One of the really big success factors for us, I think, was saying, let's just be really realistic about this. We do this in our spare time. We're going to give ourselves kind of a good 6 to 9 months to do all of this stuff. So when I say that we built assets, we've got those on the next bit, haven't we?
We do.
I'll show you them in a minute, but they're kind of...
There you go.
So we have this nice logo that we designed, which is kind of a badge, and that can go on the one that you see in the middle with the picture of the chap there. He's one of the figureheads, and you can see that this is his profile page is kind of like internal Facebook or internal social network. And when you sign up as an ally, you get this badge put onto your page. So when people go and look at you, when someone joins a new project, they can kind of log on, have a look at who their new colleagues are going to be, see this and think, brilliant, I'm going to be able to turn up in the office at the client site on day one and say, hey, I'm me, I'm a lesbian, I'm gay, and nobody's going to have a problem with that. And equally, one of the really powerful things that we did was to put this on email signatures. So you can see Sarah's signature at the bottom of the slide. And I think this is one of those kind of really lucky things where I'd love to say that we knew how kind of powerful this was going to be and what the effects of it would be. We didn't. It's just so happened that it's been incredible. We've got some really good stories that we can kind of talk about where people have sent an email out, both to clients actually and also to people that they work with within Accenture. And there's a good story, for example, where one of our figureheads, who's a senior leader in part of the business, she had been working with a colleague, I think for 12 years in the States, and they'd always had a slightly kind of a bit fractious their relationship. It wasn't, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't a great working relationship, and they didn't kind of have any rapport, that sort of stuff. She sent this email, and he rang her up and went, "Oh, I've just seen your signature," and she goes, "All right, okay," and he goes, "Did you know I'm gay?" And then starts sort of talking about his partner and I think his kids and all this sort of stuff, and suddenly their working relationship's gone from being not brilliant to being really productive, really kind of personal, and it's just a great story. So, and there's lots and lots and lots of those stories that have come about just from the signature. So it's been really powerful. And then the other thing is this: you can see it's a picture of a guide, which is basically a book that says how to be an ally, what a good ally is, what an ally isn't, what's expected, what's not expected, and it's something that people can go away when they log onto the Allies portal, have a look at, and work out what being an ally means to them, what their personal motivation is for doing it.
And one of the big pieces for us within Accenture is that the guide that Stonewall put together did not include the T, and Accenture very much wanted to include the T, so we added a piece around transgender as well. just quickly, because I'm realising we don't have that much time, and potentially there could be a question. In terms of how you make this happen in your own organisation, obviously Accenture is 250,000 employees. We are a huge organisation. We have a lot more in terms of funding and people to help us with this stuff. But having this toolkit where you have various assets that you can use will allow you to pick and choose and make it appropriate for the size of your organisation. And another key thing is the time. Take the time to actually build the assets and build the momentum before launching it to the world. We found that was incredibly helpful in really having a good impact and allowing people to understand what they needed to do to be an ally. And I think for us, the biggest thing was also communication at all sorts of events to really promote that. In terms of impact, you know the numbers, I can't remember them.
So we have globally at the moment, we launched in March, right?
Yeah.
So we had a target, I think, of about 500. It was 500 allies in the first year. We've got, it's November, obviously, we now have 1,600 allies signed up, and which is amazing, right? And we didn't...
Yeah, never thought we'd get there.
I don't think we anticipated it, but it's gone really, really viral, and this isn't necessarily us. I think the really great thing about this is that it isn't us saying, you must do this. You know, it's not the leadership saying, you have to do this and we expect it. It's people going, that's a really cool program. I want to be involved. I want to show, that I support this. And we've got, I think it was 20% uplift in people signing up to the LGBT networks around the world. So people are obviously kind of seeing this as permission to out themselves and to say, I want to be a part of this and identify myself as LGBT, which is fantastic.
And one last thing to add before we finish. The email signature, it does go out to internal and external people, but we very much leave it up to the allies themselves to make that decision. If they want to have an external signature like that, they can. If they don't have to. And I think that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.